Hello and welcome to Toppers Talk. Now, when we talk about Toppers Talk, we interact with different kind of people, and at times we come or bump into someone who can be a role model for future generation. Today, we are going to talk about Gunjan Singh, who has scored All India rank 16, and we can assure you that this experience, this interview, is going to change your perspective about how our future civil servants are going to be. So, without mincing much words, let's talk to Gunjan Singh and try to understand how she started preparing for this examination. So, Gunjan, please introduce yourself.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. And it's first of all, I would say it's great honor to be called as a role model because I haven't achieved something on those tangible lines as of yet. And this was my third attempt in the UPSC Civil Services examination, and I secured All India rank 16. And in my first attempt, I could not clear my prelims examination. In my second attempt, I had reached the interview stage. I come from Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh, and I graduated in electrical engineering from IIT Roorkee in 2015. Post that, I worked as a software developer in City Corp Services Limited, and that was in Pune. And since then, I've shifted to Delhi, and I have been preparing since then.
Wow, wonderful. Actually, we got a chance to interact with Gunjan for the first time when she came for interview guidance program in the last year. And this year, she has scored rank 16, a great metamorphosis from what we have seen last year to this year. I think since we have seen so much of a change already, in the time to come, people will be mesmerized by the personality and the work that you carry. And we are sure that this is going to be a life changing experience for many of our viewers and audience. So let's begin with the first question. Now, a lot of people who want to prepare for the UPSC examination do lack motivation. So my question is very simple. What should the beginners know about civil services as a career? And why did you become an IAS officer? Or what was your motivation? So in simple words, we talk about reason for choosing civil services. What was your motivation? And why do you want to become an IAS officer?
So, for all those who are thinking of preparing for the civil services, I think from the very beginning, your reason, the very personal reason that you or that you yourself would only know, should be very authentic, should be very true.
Hmm.
Because this examination, I think, because like I have appeared in the JE examinations and I have been preparing for some other examinations, believe me, this would be a lot more tough, maybe I would say, because if your intentions, if your inner reasoning is not clear, then you might feel at times that are you taking the risk, is it worth enough or not. So
Hmm.
I would always say that whatever your reasons be, if it is public service or taking care of your parents, or even if it is you want to have good status in the society, whatever be it, it should be a very strong one, because
Hmm.
that is what will keep you motivated all along.
Hmm.
And talking about my reasons, I
Hmm.
would say that I have been academically good all along, and I had an elder brother who always motivated me to go for the challenging preparation examination, and he always motivated me for this. After that, when I reached college, I got an opportunity to work in NSS, National Service Scheme, where we visited various villages, and we worked on various social fronts, like doing surveys, presentations, skits, nukkad nataks, all those things. What I realized was that I had a lot of zeal and enthusiasm for working in the villages. And then we students, if we formed a very informal group named Bharat Vandan, and then we focused on just one village named Bhangeri. It was in the Khanjarpur area. It was just beside my college, like it was just 10 minutes cycling distance.
Hmm.
And I noticed that all the zeal, enthusiasm I personally had, and initially I was like, I'll go and I'll make these changes because I have a lot of, I am full of ideas and I'm full of passion. But then when you go and see the grassroots challenges and the problems that are actually present, and the struggles you face, that was the time, sir, when I realized that this is my calling, this is ultimately my passion. And to bring any tangible change, why not just get into the services, become the part of the state itself,
Hmm.
and just do not be an external factor, like not join an NGO or anything, and firstly try to be in services, and bring any changes. So that was my, like, it was my calling, it was my passion that I decided on it. And talking about the motivation for that, yes, sir, it took me one more year because I had joined the a private corporation. So it
Mhm.
took me one full year, like to decide and to formulate on my thought process that is it just passion I want to like follow, or am I very clear that this has to be my career, this has to be my lifelong desire. So for that, for all the students who are like trying to prepare for the civil services, who are thinking, just do not take it as any glorified job or anything. It has to be your like lifelong attachment with you. So think on those lines.
I think you have aptly said one wonderful thing, which actually a lot of civil servants or wannabe civil servants should say, that when we say why we want to prepare for this examination, people say social recognition, prestige, money, even job security. But these are byproduct of very simple thing. If you're getting into any kind of government job, you will get it. But the office of an IAS or a civil servant is something which is much bigger. And for that, you require a lot of motivation, a lot of fire inside, and
Yes, sir.
you will be in a position to direct your focus in the right fashion only when you have a stronger, bigger reasons. As already mentioned by Gunjan, she has been a member of NSS and she has seen the ground reality. So that is why I think her motivation was very strong. And she started preparing for 2016. There were high phases, there were low phases, and in these low phases your motivation journey actually gives you the push that is required for the examination. Now
Yes, sir.
another question which I would look to highlight is that timing is considered to be very important. There was a time
Yes,
when
sir.
UPSC had this tradition of conducting examination for 21 to 26. Then it became 28. And now we can see the age limit is expanded. Now,
Yes,
what
sir.
is the right time to start preparing for the examination? Because a lot of people do what? They complete their graduation, they start doing something, and then they realize, okay, they can be a civil servant. And
Yes,
this
sir.
is how they prepare. But
Mhm.
all those people who are looking for this answer, what is the right time ideally to start for this examination?
I would say, sir, the right time is when you are able to have right kind of information and you are able to process that kind of information.
Hmm.
For me, I think, sir, like I have cousins around me and they
Hmm.
are like in kind of so enlightened, like they are knowing the what is the demand of the examination and how to proceed. And they
Hmm.
are in a much better position than I was when I was doing like my 10th and 12th.
Hmm.
So there is because now they are like so focused on their whole career. And in my 10th I was not knowing what to do, like I joined IIT, I did something, and it was like a long drawn process.
Hmm.
So it is a very individual process.
Hmm.
Whenever you realize, like and coming from the sir middle class families, you always have some
Hmm.
kind of pressure to get into some kind of remunerative vocation so as to
Hmm.
like become financially independent.
Hmm.
So yes, sir, all these things taken in mind, I think we all should try to decide, like when do you find yourself suitable enough for studying for long hours, not thinking about other worries and other hassles in your life. If
Hmm.
it comes very early on, it is very good. And
Hmm.
if it is coming as late as like my case, doing BTech and doing some private job and then deciding, it
Hmm.
is also okay. It is
Hmm.
only that whenever one joins, I think it has to be then a totally a dedicated process.
Hmm.
Then you don't. It's not like not moving back or not looking back.
Hmm.
Then one should move further.
Of course. I would like to actually add this question. There are people who are school goers who have just entered class 11th because of a topper in the past. We have seen that people entering to class 11th with a clear cut idea that they want to become IAS. Then there are
Yes, sir.
people who are pursuing their graduation from Delhi University or any other college, good college. They start.
Yes,
And
sir.
there are people who complete their post graduation, enter into post graduation, and start preparing for that. So I was just asking that ideally, which stage is the best stage to start preparing for the examination?
Sir, again, I think that would be a very individual choice, because talking about stage, like if we talk about the very formative years, like
Hmm.
someone in class 11th.
Hmm.
But then I personally speaking, I get a bit dubious, like how do you know, like in class 11th, are you so sure that this is your calling, this is your passion, and this is what where you want to like
Hmm.
end up ultimately?
Hmm.
But if someone is so sure of, then
Hmm.
why, it is good thing, because from then on you will be taking your NCRTs and you
Hmm.
very seriously, and you would be getting familiar with the Hindu and Indian Express.
Hmm.
And by that matter, you might get selected by 22 or 23 whenever you are like in early on in your years.
Hmm.
But even if it is coming as late as like 28 or 29, as it is in my case, I think it won't be much problem, because even if it is that late, we all want is that now you have and I think this is for me, it was a good idea as far as I concerned, because now I have no other like regrets or no other second options,
Hmm.
because I've tried everything. So
Hmm.
this stage is also a good stage, because now we are very assured that I have done everything, and now what I am thinking is this is the only line, this is the only field which
Hmm.
I find myself passionate enough to enter into. So I
Hmm.
think all stages are good enough. It's
Hmm.
only that when you are very sure and you are ready to give your 100% in it.
Hmm. Actually, what is important is that all those people who are following their school studies or even the graduate level studies, they should focus on the core subjects first, like polity, geography, history.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
these are
sir.
the first formative years in which they can actually focus on these things and then applied aspect of this thing. So they
Yes, sir.
must focus on their first school studies and then they can develop their interest in that direction. So
Yes, sir.
all those people who are little enlightened, who are little ready, what is your advice towards NCRTs, so how they can manage NCRTs, because this is something which is a difficult question to answer for people.
Yes, sir.
NCRT should be done, should not be done. We normally come across query that for polity, let me do Lakshmikant only. I don't want to do NCRT. So what is your take on that about NCRTs? What is the importance of NCRTs?
Sir, talking of NCRTs, I think I'm the bundle of mistakes sitting here in front of you, because like when I came to Delhi, I straight on I joined certain coachings, and then it was not the time to study NCRTs, because everyone referred some kind of standard books, and it was so late in this year, after giving my third attempt, I was preparing for my fourth
Hmm.
attempt, and for the first time, sir, I opened NCRTs, and I found how wonderful books they are,
They are,
and
yeah.
all the blogs of the toppers and the other selected people, and everyone who said that focus on NCRTs is the base, the ultimate fundamental. I think that is the ultimate gospel of truth, I would say. Yes, NCRTs, one should not ignore NCRTs, and NCRTs be from class 6th to class 12th, for geography, history, economics, polity, everything, because how beautifully in how simple language they put in the words and everything, and the concept gets cleared. So I think NCRT should be the base, and even for like for GS1 also, I think if for the society topic in GS1, if
Hmm.
we rely on NCRTs and we put on some of the current events and happenings, it is
Hmm.
more than enough, because there is no need to run after multitude sources and complex materials that are provided by different coachings, because that might seem alluring. At the end of the day, NCRT is something very pristine and very fundamental.
I will still like you to throw more light on this in one aspect. Now, a lot of people who
Yes,
come
sir.
to us, they say that we are from the CBSE board, we have studied the
Hmm.
NCRTs. Now, why are you
Hmm.
asking us to revisit these books? And we tell them that when you are preparing for concepts and when you are preparing for your unit test or the yearly test, the approach is
Yes,
very
sir.
different. So you
Yes, sir.
mentioned that is the gospel of truth that many toppers highlight. But what is the secret of grabbing more information from the perspective of UPSC? What was your way of handling NCRT?
Sir,
Hmm.
like talking about my way of handling NCRTs, I said I started with NCRTs very late,
Hmm.
and I started with the society topic.
Hmm.
I bought the NCRTs of class 12. What it is the NCRTs, they have a lot of the fodder, the material is
Hmm.
more in a story format, and
Yes.
for UPSC, for our preparation, what we want is we want crisp points,
Hmm.
and we want something very like not the whole material should be, we want to compress it in maybe just 10 to 12 pages, and
Hmm.
that can be done very efficiently. So
Hmm.
with the NCRTs, this can be done, that we can pay, in the first reading, if we like just go through the NCRTs, highlight the main points, and in the second reading, if we can jot down the important points, and we can summarize each chapter into like on both the sides of an A4 sheet, if we can
Hmm.
if we are able to do that. So for all the NCRTs, like for all, like for modern history, the Bipin Chandra NCRT we have, if we can like compress it into like 10 to 14 pages of A4 sheets, and for all the NCRTs we can do, and we can make a folder of these.
Mhm.
Now we have the NCRTs handy with us, and anytime, like if we are now referring to Lakshmikant, before that we can just go through the pages, and
Mhm.
because now we have done our own hard work, we have made the important jottings and we have written the important points. Half of the material has the concepts have been already imbibed. And talking about the CBSE students who are saying that we have already done the NCRTs, I would say that you are on a good side. So like,
Yes.
why crib on that? Just go and revise it, because you guys are still on a better edge than us. Like I came from ICSE, and for me NCRTs were, oh my god, everything is so new, so I had to start afresh. Why?
Mhm.
And you guys, you are so familiar with it, so it is
Mhm.
a revision for you, and this exam is all about multiple revisions. So don't crib, and just be happy that you know the NCRTs, and now you can like revise them well, and you can make better notes.
Yeah, of course. I think NCRTs give a great amount of conceptual clarity, which also you have highlighted. And that
Yes, sir.
conceptual clarity can be seen when we understand the things as they are presented. When we are not uh, preparing for any kind of test, unit test, that what is definition of this, but to
Yes, sir.
appreciate the learning which is there. And that is what the
Yes,
purpose of
sir.
NCRT is. Once you start appreciating the content, appreciating the beauty of the idea, and then the rest of things will reflect. Now,
Yes, sir.
one
Our
more.
mindset and our approach is always different. Like when we are in schools, our
Hmm.
only focus is to
Yes,
just to clear the unit test.
yes,
Now
yes, yes.
it's not the mindset. Now there is
Hmm.
no unit test. There is no one is going to judge you. It's your own process, your own preparation. So you
Of course.
have to like pass yourself in the examination. It's nothing on those lines.
Now, one more question that I want to ask, that a lot of people who come to us, they ask a question about how to read newspaper first
Hmm.
and which newspaper to read. Normally, we
Hmm.
recommend people to read the Hindu or the Indian Express. Then they say that why can't Times of India or
Hmm.
Hindustan Times or anything like that? So I will like to ask, what was your newspaper of choice, which you utilized for this purpose, and why and how anyone should read newspaper? Because in newspaper, how will you differentiate? For example, Dainik Jagran, Amar
Yes,
Ujala,
sir. Hmm.
Hindu, Times of India, Indian Express. Why there is a distinction between these newspapers? Why there is a Hindu or Indian Express preferred over anything else? So, what is your idea on that?
Uh, yes, sir. So talking about the newspaper reading, this would I would add this as one of the most hectic part of my like preparation strategy. But because before that, I was like not a newspaper person,
Hmm.
and I read the Jagran and all the news regional newspapers you talked of.
Hmm. Hmm.
So talking about newspaper reading, sir,
Hmm.
I focused on two main newspapers, The Hindu and Indian Express. Indian
Okay.
Express, I would say, because I come from geography optional,
Okay.
and Indian Express has I think every day it has a different page. Like one day it focuses on health and nutrition, another day it would focus on agriculture, and that is how it has dedicated a separate page weekly. So I found it very good for the point of like adding case studies in my geography. So I referred Indian Express separately. Moreover, talking of Hindu, sir, I focused a lot on editorial,
Hmm.
because with editorial we get what is the important happening, the current happenings going on. And if an editorial or any opinion is covering any article like 10, 12 times, and it is occurring regularly, then we get to know, okay, so this is an issue of prime importance, of national importance.
Hmm.
So that is one thing. Another thing, we would say that these are generic newspapers. These are not made for solely for our UPSC aspirants only. So
Hmm.
there will be some political news in that too, and there would be some other news too, and all those would look very fancy. And in my starting 2 hours, I would like give half an hour to all those things also. But then I later realized, no, 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 I have to cut time from all of this. So we have to, even if we are reading the news, do it very judiciously. Do not enter into the political news or any other kind of news. Firstly, have your go through the means syllabus, go
Good.
through the prelims syllabus, and maybe just print out the syllabus.
Mm-hmm.
And when you'll print out the syllabus, you'll see that the schemes for vulnerable sections, or you will have some amount that issues with population, issues with agriculture. Now you have gone through the syllabus and by heart the syllabus. Now when you open the newspaper, you will get across these schemes or anything about agriculture or anything that is related with your GS. I think you should just make some notes about it, because that is what I did in my first year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that there are many ready-made monthly magazines available,
Mm-hmm.
but I do not want it. Do not want it to just switch directly on those material, because sir, I had no prior basis of
Mm-hmm.
newspaper reading or current affairs reading. So I
Mm-hmm.
could not have maybe appreciated the hard work done by the coaching institutes in making the monthly magazines, because then after 1 year when I switched to the monthly magazines, I realized how beautifully they compile all the news from the various leading newspapers. And then I thought, okay, my hard work that I did, now I can utilize that my time in other things. And just after 1 year of good newspaper reading, I became familiar with many concepts, many new ideas, and then I shifted completely to the monthly magazines. And I then focused on the other static topics. So that was
Great.
my approach.
Actually, I will just try to simplify the entire thing for our audience. Actually, what Gunjan did, Gunjan applied a filter, and the filter was drawn from the syllabus of UPSC. So what she has done, that she has gone through the syllabus. So there were topic of social issues, social justice, maybe polity and governance, and based on that syllabus, she filtered all the knowledge which was there in the newspaper. That is why newspaper, which is related to say current affairs, becomes important from the UPSC perspective, because UPSC is going to ask applied aspect. So when you talk
Yes, sir.
about polity and governance, they will ask about what is the applied aspect, maybe governors' roles in the recent past. So these are the
Yes, sir.
things that all of you should learn from successful candidate like Gunjan. You should apply your filter, and that filter has to be an informed one. It cannot be whimsical in nature. It has to have one
Yes,
simple
sir.
thing, that it has to be tested by what UPSC has done in the past through syllabus, and also maybe through previous year questions as well, because they can also be an indicator for that.
Yes,
That's
sir.
I think you
And
have
yes, sir,
summarized.
I would add one more thing. Like you
Yeah.
talked about the applied aspect. So we all as students, we face a lot of challenges. Like what kind of examples should we give in ethics? I think if
Mhm.
we read the newspapers very closely, we get very good examples of like people showing humanity to such beautiful extent, and we can jot down certain examples from there too, from very normal individuals like us showing acts of kindness on daily basis. So if we
Mhm.
can jot down those points also, I think we can add value to our ethics paper also.
Now I'm going to ask a question which is very close to my heart. There was a
Yes, sir.
time when engineers used to dominate the civils examination, and then
Yes,
there
sir.
came a time when humanities subjects became popular.
Mhm.
So now I see that engineers still have an advantage or maybe edge over other competitors. So
Mhm.
the examination looks like favoring someone who's coming from humanities, but engineers do better than others more often than not. Of course, I've seen that in the recent past. So what is your take on that? Do engineers have an advantage over others, or engineers can read humanities better than others? What is your understanding on this?
Uh, yes, sir. I think living in the Karol Bagh area and the Patel Nagar area, I have come across certain such debates to on a very large extent. But I think, sir, these are just whimsical debates. We
Hmm.
should not enter into, because humanities and engineering background, they are like never an issue. Because I came from engineering background, but I
Hmm.
chose geography as my optional. So
Hmm.
for me, everything was very new. I had to get along with the topics.
Hmm.
Talking about the students who have taken up humanities, they know about the subject beforehand, and they start focusing on that. And Sir, actually, I do not have an answer about this because I do not get this debate because while preparing for this, we had a very close knit group of two, three students. Like few were from IITs, like few were from the Delhi University,
Hmm.
and we all were like excelling. All were having good amount of order with us, and I do not think so that the IQ or EQ is anyway can be compared between the engineering or humanities per se.
What I want to actually highlight as well, that we've seen that recently engineers have been more successful in the examination. Earlier, when I was appearing for the examination, engineers used to take maths, physics, chemistry, and top the examination. But these days, engineers take economics, public administration, geography, sociology, history, and then they top the examination. So I always used to feel that humanities students who have studied these subjects in graduation, maybe in post graduation as well, should have an advantage. So how these engineers are so good that they not only prepare the subject but also get an edge over these humanities trained students. What is your way of doing the things?
So I can only speak on my personal front. Like
Mhm,
personally, I came from electrical engineering and I chose geography.
mhm,
And because geography was a whole new subject,
mhm,
so I was so much interested in geography, I would say. And the paper was very challenging. It was
mhm,
very vast. It was very diverse. So studying the topic, and it was so interesting to me that I everything was so new to me. I think it is all about the interest that we have. Like I had a lot of interest. I generated a lot of interest, and because geography is so encompassing, like it talks about the women issues, it talks
mhm,
about the agricultural issues, and there was so much to learn at every stage.
mhm.
So I think it is just my personal opinion or choice that because engineering students, when they choose humanities, they get so awestruck with the
They
with the
start
beauty of
liking
the
subject much
subject.
more.
Yes,
Mhm,
yes, sir. I was totally awestruck with the beauty of subject and how how with one geography subject I'm able to learn so many new concepts.
mhm,
And because it is always a new subject, there is always some pressure that
mhm,
okay, I have to do this, I have to get this done. So I gave extra hours to it, to geography all the time. So
mhm.
maybe giving some extra attention, extra hours, and having more quality information on my optional subject geography helped me secure 16th rank, sir.
Of course, of course. Well, everyone would vouch for that now because success is best seen. Now, the important aspect is the preparation cycle. So
Yes, sir.
once you get into that mode that now I'm seriously preparing for the examination, what is the
Yes, sir.
ideal timeline according to you? When should a person start about preparing for the examination before prelims? How should someone start preparing for mains, integrating mains along with prelims? So, what was your approach? So, tell me something about the what is the ideal way of preparing for examination in which give some timelines, maybe some months as well. When should we start preparing for that?
Uh, sir, for
Hmm.
those students like who are like so enlightened and who are so sure,
Hmm.
like the students in 10th and 12th, so they are already preparing for it. I would
Hmm.
be talking about the cases like mine who have like done the job and now they are coming up.
Hmm.
So you should have at least one full year with you before
Hmm.
you write prelims.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because that was my case, because it was the very first time I came to know that there's a book named Lakshmikant up for polity
Of
and
course.
this and this. So
Hmm.
for to get familiar with concepts and to learn and understand new things and to understand the
Hmm.
demand of the examination, you
Hmm.
should have at least 1 year with you.
Hmm.
Then about the mains preparation, the answer writing, I would say
Hmm.
that do not straight on start with answer writing. So there
Hmm.
has to be some balance in that.
Of course.
If you do not know the concepts, just do
Hmm.
not start with answer writing,
Hmm.
but do not even procrastinate that one day you will gather infinite information and
Hmm.
you will be able to process that infinite information, and
Hmm.
then you will start answer writing. So there has
Hmm.
to be some balance in it. I would say that if you like next year, if I'm giving my prelims, I
Hmm.
would start on with the static topics. Like I would cover my polity, my
Hmm.
history,
Hmm.
modern history, first of all, the ancient and art and culture, economics. something about my environment, and for that I would refer the NCRTs. And then what I would do, and side by side I would start with newspapers. And newspaper reading might take some time, but if it you are doing it like religiously and regularly, like maybe for 6 months, you would get familiar with that. Now it would be your call whether you want to continue with the newspapers or you want to switch to some booklet, current affairs booklet. Do that. Now what you have to do is keep revising whatever you have read, you have done, and start with maybe you can take any, if you do not want to join any test series, there are a lot of free answer writing initiatives done by many coaching institute. You can join that, and on a daily basis you can start writing one or two answers. Now about answer writing, I would suggest something, sir, that even if it takes, like in starting in the beginning, if it takes even 2 to 3 hours to maybe write just one answer, I think we should give that time, because that is the time when we are we are picking up the pen and we are writing. What happens, sir, is because if we develop a certain pattern of answer writing, we get very rigid in our approach, that it becomes very difficult to change it. So firstly we should know what the keywords are saying, like the word, if it is saying comment, we should know that yeah, the views are required. If it is critically analyzed, we have to bring the pros cons something. If it is discussed, it has to be some kind of conversation with the evaluator, and then start with the answer writing. So just do not do it like in you putting a stopwatch. If you're writing it for the first time, do not try to write it in just 5 to 7 minutes. If you're taking like about half an hour also in an answer, do it that way. Write some 10-20 answers, and after that you will know the demand of the question, you will know how to proceed, and then you can, yes, definitely put a stopwatch. You can work according to your timelines. Now if you are like preparing both for the first time, I would say do your static material, do your current affairs. Then after 3-4 months, when you are a bit familiar with the concepts, you have read the syllabus thoroughly, you have learned the syllabus, maybe you can start writing few of the answers. And also just maybe if the prelims is coming, if it is in May, take 3 to 4 months, I would say at least 3 months beforehand, when you start focusing like 70% of your time on the prelims. And for that I would say write as many prelims test series as possible, like at least 20 to 30 tests should be written. It is not the matter that these questions would come in the examination. These questions, they help us build an approach of how to answer the questions, how to eliminate the options, and how to learn new things. And even in these test series, I would say that we should like make what I did was, personally, was I solved about 30 to 40 each year test series. Like this year I solved about 50 tests also. So what we should be doing is, we should whenever I revised all my test series also, whatever the test
That's
I
very
wrote.
important actually.
Yeah, because just writing the test series, filling the OMR does not say that I have done my test. No, because even in the test there is so much to learn, because when we are done with the static material, the current affairs, and something new comes, it tells us, okay, so these are the gaps where I need to fill in. And maybe even in the test series, you can highlight it, or you can make separate notes and keep revising them. One more thing one we should learn from the test series is that sir, I would say that while doing the test series, you will come to know that these are your strong topics. Like I always realized that history, environment are my strong topics. I always realized economics is good, but I realized how much polity I read, I always get few questions wrong on polity. So this was like my personal experience, this was like my learning, and this is what we should learn from the test series. So while doing the sectional test, or you are giving those tests, try to just read, try to see what topics you are weak on, then form your strength and weaknesses. And even in your weaknesses, go a step ahead. Like if in polity, now go and see which chapters you are lacking on. Is it a Supreme Court chapter, or is it the Panchayati Raj chapter? And then work on it. So it has to be a very two-way dialectic medium. Like you first prepare, give the test, then learn from the test, and then go back. So it has to be a very to and fro process, and go for prelims. And if you have like for people who are like veterans, like I was a veteran now, the third attempt, I would say if you are preparing, then before prelims you should at least complete two of your GS. Like I completed my ethics and one more GS, like GS3, before the prelims. Now
Okay.
after prelims I had like 3.5 months left. I could focus more on my optional, I could focus more on the essay and other things. So sir, this, I think this has to be, you we all need to make a very we all need to proceed in an organized manner. What I did always was I made a very macro schedule, like what I have to do in like the next 6 months. I broke it down into micro schedules, like in the for January this thing has to be completed, February, so on. And then I broke it further into weekly schedule and then daily schedule. By that sense we get some sense of achievement, like whatever what we are doing. And all these things keep us motivated too, because even if we are like facing failures, but we know that we are giving our part to it and we are doing it, we are not procrastinating. So that is a kind of good assurance that yes, we are on the right, in the right direction.
Great, great. So the point that you highlighted is actually very important. When to start preparing for the examination? It is actually 1 year prior to the start of the examination in terms of prelims examination. And even when you are going for the mains examination, then also some of the topics of mains examination should be done beforehand, like ethics that you mentioned and other topics as well. So, and importance of test series is very important, very highlighted very aptly, that we should attempt as many tests, but not only attempting them, it is also very important to analyze your attempt, learn from it, change from it in terms of what is required, drop those habits which are bad. And this is what the crux is in terms of Gunjan's word. Now, the next important point that we want to actually discuss about, that there is an idea that who is a civil servant, or what is the personality of someone who's preparing for civil services. And we normally say that someone who knows everything under the sun. So tell me, what is your understanding? What is this examination? Is this examination of memory test, aptitude test? What it is? How to develop yourself for this examination?
Sir, I would say that till date, I'm not in the position to know everything under the sun. And
Yes.
even when it comes to discussions with many of my friends, I would say that they are much more knowledgeable than me in various aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So and yet if I have cleared, I think there are some other things that are required in the examination. Mostly what I learned from my mistakes is it is more of the smart reading and the smart studying that is required. Like this examination is knowing all about your strength and weaknesses, and it is about how you approach them, like how you work on them.
Mm-hmm.
If your weakness is to an extent that you cannot rectify and redress it in the time frame, and
Mm-hmm.
if you think that your return on investment would be better if you focus on the other of your strengths, I think if you can take that, if a person can take that risk, they can go ahead. If they realize that okay, if they have some weak options, they have some weak points, and they have in the limited time frame they can work on them, then and if they want to proceed further, they can do that. So it is a very personal process, it is a very individual process where we have to realize where our limitations are. Like even in my geography optional, sir, because the paper was so the syllabus is so diverse and vast, I took a lot of risk this time too, in certain topics, that okay, I am not able to prepare them, but then I gave all my time from that to the other topics. Like in human geography, I focused more on human geography because I knew with more some more time I can score better in this. So
Mm-hmm.
this was all my own analysis or my own choice, and this has to be a very individual process, I must say. And even like I would not like to set an example for anyone. Just because you're asking, I'm telling you, like even in my prelims, I had always some limited time and there was so much to do. So even in prelims, till date, I could not study the medieval history part quite well. So yes, sir. So now this is something my secret, or some kind of like my risk analysis, which I did. That okay, I'm not able to do this, but okay, I'll give the time which I might put in this to other topics. So this has to be the thing. You need not know everything under the sun. You need to act bit smartly. You need to analyze analyze the previous year papers, you need to analyze what your strengths are. Like there are some students who cannot learn indefinitely, so then you have to realize is that how you are going to make points, how you are going to get marks. For that you have to present your answers in a logical manner and all those things. But I would still say that to fetch good marks, we should like there are certain things like knowing the facts, knowing the constitutional articles, knowing the sections, being familiar with your subject. And that is why I tell NCRT comes very handy here, because it prepares us for the very fundamental topics. So we should be knowing that, and that would be sufficient. And if that comes the knowledge under the sun, then everyone is knowledgeable enough.
That's great. Actually, there is a difference between someone who's preparing for civil services within the defined syllabus, and there is someone who is a follower of a subject. So
Yes, sir,
when we
definitely.
talk about UPSC aspirant, you are not expected to be an expert of a subject. You are expected to be an expert of the syllabus that is given to you, and then
Yes,
the
sir.
dimensions that we can add to that.
Yes,
More
sir.
often than not, I have seen many people do blunders in this case, that when they become very academic in their approach when they prepare for the examination, and that is where the whole problem comes into picture. As you clearly mentioned that you did not study medieval India, you did your risk analysis, that how much of a risk can I take, and you
Yes,
did
sir.
not like it, or whatever is the reason, you did not have time. And
Not time, sir.
yeah,
Not
so
enough time.
what happened that you manage your time in such a manner that even if I do not do this, this is not going to hamper my chances in clearing the prelims. So this is one of the greatest blessing that we can seek from this discussion.
Thank you,
Use your
sir.
resources
And
very wisely. Yeah.
yes, sir. Yeah, and one more thing, sir. Two things. Like people say that everyone has to, that one should know everything under the sun, and UPSC it asks from anything to everything, from
Hmm.
poles to equator. I do not think that is the case, because when we look into our GS mains syllabus,
Hmm.
it has very clearly written citizen charter, it has very clearly written schemes of vulnerable sections. So how it has given the topics in a very structured manner. If we can, like even if we are like not having enough sources, if after NCRT we can Google these terms and we can know the definitions, and we can substantiate our answers with the current happenings, case studies, I think that would be good enough order. Like for people who are struggling with governance topics and those things, even if like you are not having any standard material for that, they can Google
Hmm.
the terms, they can make their own 1 or 2 page notes on each of the
Hmm.
topics that is given in the syllabus. And
Hmm.
that is not being that tells that everything is, even the syllabus is limited and defined even in this
Hmm.
examination.
Of
So
course.
we should try to focus on that approach also.
I think the best advice that I can gather from this statement is syllabus is the key.
Yes, sir.
Follow the syllabus, understand the syllabus, understand the weight of various topics which is there, and once you
Yes, sir.
understand this thing, you will understand what to read, how much to
Yes,
read,
sir.
and
Yes,
that
sir.
is why it becomes a mix of aptitude as well as knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Of course, as clearly mentioned, everything under the sun is almost impossible. What is possible is to balance, find a balance, do your risk analysis, and take some chances as well if there is a requirement.
Yes, sir.
Now, one thing is very important. This the syllabus is huge. We are expected to read NCRTs, standard reference books. So,
Yes, sir.
how to make notes, and actually when to make notes? My question is very simple. Why? When I study NCRTs, now I
Yes,
will
sir.
make some notes. Then say I will take Lakshmi Kant or any other reference book, maybe DD Basu or any other book that I normally study. Then I will make notes again. So there will be duplication of effort.
Mhm.
How and when should people make notes? For example, when I'm studying NCRT, should I make notes or not? How to make notes which can be 1 point solution for me? What was your approach?
So my approach is that yes, the syllabus is vast, and with vast syllabus comes vast sources also.
Wow.
So what should we do is, what I did is I kept my sources very limited, like right from the very beginning. This was my
Very
third.
good.
I did not added much of the sources. My sources were very limited, sir.
Mhm.
My ultimate agenda was revision.
Mhm.
Revision was the key for me throughout my
Mhm.
examination.
Mhm.
So regarding making the notes,
Mhm.
I would say, making notes for NCRT would be a good option, because when we read NCRT for the first time, and NCRT is such a beautiful book, it teaches in a very interactive method.
Mm-hmm.
So when we read it, we get to understand the concepts. Now, for the second time, if we can jot down the important points and we can summarize that one whole chapter like into one A4 sheet page, that by that way, like we have created the synopsis of the NCRT with us.
Of course.
Now, when I shift to Lakshmikant, what I have with me that I know what constitution is and what it tells, that it is the limitations of the government, and I have like 4 points ready on it. Now, when I shift to Lakshmikant, for me, Lakshmikant is itself a synopsis, a very compressed format. So I did not make notes on that. I just highlighted the important points, and I wrote the important points on the top and bottom of it. Now, with that, I had NCRT pages and Lakshmikant book ready with me, and every time I had to revise NCRT polity, I would go through the notes I made and the Lakshmikant. So like the whole process would take like 5 to 7 days, like the whole good revision process. And with more multiple revisions, the days would reduce and the time would reduce significantly. So while making notes, this has to be like your own, I would say, your own personal choice for all the students. Like coming from geography optional, sir, I noticed that making maps is very important.
Yes.
And in the examination, like we have just 5 or 7 minutes, we have to reproduce an answer, like we have to make the maps also, the flow chart, the facts, figures, everything. What I did was I made maps, the notes of my maps, like the rainfall map or the agricultural agro sorry sir, I'm just getting a bit stammering. So I made notes on my maps, and what I did was I stuck those maps on my walls. Now, what I did this now, because I'm not able to learn the maps all the time, what is the rainfall variation or what is this and that. Now, when I'm seeing it daily in my room in Patel Nagar, it is all like studied with maps as of now. So now this was like my personal process, my choice, that I knew I won't be able to remember maps all the time. So this is for all the students who are thinking that, and there are certain topics which we try to read a lot, but we are not able to remember it. So what I did, I made small notes, synopsis form of notes. I pasted it all along my room, like wherever I can see directly. And the notes I made, I kept handy with me. Like before going to bed, there are certain topics which I kept revising, or getting up early in the morning and revising them. So when we do these kind of rituals or habits, I would say, they become the part of the process, and then with you get fluent with note making and you get fluent with revision also. So that is what I did, sir.
Now, since you have highlighted revision, the importance of revision, the last question of this discussion, I will have some small part later as well. So what is the revision strategy? How frequently or regularly one should revise? And how to continue this process in this entire preparation period? You have mentioned it somewhere that you started preparing for the examination in 2016. So it was a long period. And in this period, how did you keep yourself motivated? So small thoughts on this, that what should be the regularity of revision? What was your strategy and approach? Was it through testing or any other mechanism? And then how to keep ourselves motivated even when we are not doing well in the test?
Yes, sir. Sir, for revision, I would say that even for revision, we need a lot of motivation, because to revise something that we have already read is a very hectic process, I must say, and it gets monotonous and boring at times. So for revision, what I always did was I always kept some test in line. So I have to write some test. So for that, I have to revise that thing. So I read some topic, I revised it 2-3 times. Now, when I have to write a test, I'll revise it again. So I kept my revisions handy with my the test I had to write, and that is how I made my whole schedule. Like if I've studied polity, I would write 2-3 sectional tests, the MCQ, the prelims test on polity, and in a week, and I would just keep revising them, giving the test, keep revising them, giving the test, and then I would do the same for even for my means answer writing also.
Mhm.
So I guess test is one of great motivating point, because we have to write test and we want to score good in that. So
Mhm.
always try to sync your revision with your test, and that way you can do much better, and you would not be blaming yourself that, look, I had not studied anything, that is why I fared bad. No, but then you
Mhm.
would know, I studied and still I'm faring bad. Okay, I have to go back, I have to introspect, and I have to see what all wrong I'm doing. So
Mhm.
revision is very important. Like for my current affairs revision, I would say, when I was studying from the current affairs booklet, if I'm studying like the January's booklet, then I would revise like the November, the December, October booklet beforehand, and then I would proceed with January. So it always became a cumulative process, and
Mhm.
with every time I revised, the time I took in revision reduced significantly. So by
Mhm.
the end of the examination date, like for polity, for Lakshmikant, I just had to turn the pages. It was just a matter of hours. I revised whole of my polity, including the NCRTs and the Lakshmikant. So one has to do this, and revision has to be a very constant process. For my motivation, sir, I would say that I'm blessed with very supporting parents and very supporting relatives,
Mhm.
and a close. And I have formed like we lose out on a lot of friends from college and other places. But yes, there have been few friends from my college, like two of my seniors, who were
Mhm.
actually in Delhi with me all the time. Like they were
Wow.
doing the job, and they were, but they were like all the time like parent like figures with me. So yes, I'm blessed to have them.
Mhm.
For all the aspirants who are studying, I would say that the process, the journey gets monotonous and it gets jarring and wearing at times. Do not lose out, like do not be harsh on yourself, do not punish yourself. Give yourself some time, take out some days to chill and to relax, maybe do yoga, meditation, go on jogging, watch a movie, do something. And if you have some close friends, and only those friends who will motivate you in the process, who will say that yes, you can make it, and who will fill you with optimism and confidence,
Mhm.
only talk with those friends only.
Mhm.
And I have like my father. I'm very fond of poetry, and like the Veer's poetry, sir. Like I've told you
Mhm.
before.
Mhm.
So whenever like I would call my parents, my mother and my father. My father would like keep on telling me some of the lines. So at this moment, I can remember like two lines from the poem that our Bharat Ratna Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the Prime Minister, had said that हार नहीं मानूंगा,
Mhm.
रार नहीं मानूंगा, काल के कपाल पर लिखता मिटाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ.
Wow.
So with these lines, just keep moving, and success will be yours. This
Wow.
is a tough process. This is a struggling process, but then always know that you are preparing for a bigger struggle, because when
Mhm.
you get into services, you will be facing challenges and many more struggles, and
Mhm.
you will have to bear many responsibilities. So this process, this examination is preparing you for that. These might look like big lines as of now, but
Mhm.
yes, these were like my motivating points all throughout. So all the best, guys. Keep working hard.
Wonderful. I will actually quote one of the lines which Gunjan has mentioned on on her WhatsApp status, and that is "उन्हें कोई क्या आजाद करे जिन्हें अपनी गुलामी का इल्म नहीं." Now, the basic purpose of this session is to inform everyone who is seriously considering the civils examination about how to prepare, what to prepare, and you can learn from people directly, like Gunjan Singh, who has actually traveled the entire distance. She has seen failure, she has seen change of subject from being an engineer to someone who's pursuing humanities and enjoying that, then not clearing prelims maybe because of some problem, and then ultimately scoring the high rank of 16. Now you can see that this entire thing is something which looks like magical. It's more of a Cinderella story, but that Cinderella story has to be written by you. And for this particular purpose, information, right guidance is the key. So the purpose of Toppers Talk is to give the right kind of guidance to the students. And I think, Gunjan, you've done a fantastic work by not only doing great in the examination, but also by communicating your approach and strategy with hundreds and thousands of people. And
Thank you,
we
sir.
from the
Thank you for
Rouse
providing
IAS,
me this platform. Thank you,
Mhm.
sir.
And we from the Rouse IAS actually thank you from the bottom of heart for sharing all those great moments, great points with all these students. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We wish you great career growth in future.
Thank you, sir.